Okay, here is a video about R2D2 electronics. This is by no means the only way to do it. There's lots of different ways. This is the way that I'm doing it. And although I don't have everything I need to finish the electronics, I do have enough, almost enough to get started. So this video is not showing everything you need, but it's just kind of timely because I had something to talk about, my experience getting to this point, and one major piece that I don't have yet that I'd like to talk about. So first off, I originally was going to just print R2D2's dome and have it make sound effects and have the blinking lights. That was 2017. Now I did 3D print a dome. I never got it finished quality-wise to where I was happy with it, so I have reprinted the dome and have yet to start sanding and finishing the reprint. But these pieces I bought most of them in 2017. And that's my first gotcha that happened to me, is I can't even remember how these go together now. So it's now February of 2023, and I made these in 2017, and they have circuit boards with LEDs that go in the dome that fade from one color to another. They have the large LED panel here, hollow projector lights, small LED sections that go in the dome. And this, I believe, is what I programmed this with. It says a chip on the back, a little circuit board on the back, and I think I bought this to program it, but I honestly can't remember now because it's been so long. But I do remember testing the lights, and the lights lit up, so I'm pretty sure that's what I used to program it, and it's been tested working, even though I'll have to go back online and look up how you plug all the stuff in because, like I said, it's been so long I can't remember how it plugs in. So that's one of the drawbacks. If you take a long time in your project and you start buying electronics early, you might forget how they go together, what they were for, or if you even have them. Which is kind of over here. The next section of things I bought, ground loop isolator to go between the MP3 trigger that plays the sounds, goes through a ground loop isolator to remove any static or interference in the signal, and then goes to an amplifier and then out to speakers. And then these I built, these are called Markduinos. Now I am going to use the Shadow system to operate my droid. Shadow has been around for quite a while. Padawan is another system. That one uses an Xbox 360 controller. The Shadow system uses these PlayStation controllers, two of them. Well, you can use just one, but most people use two. One that controls dome left and right, the other one controls steering R2D2, and then they have numerous buttons that you can assign to sound effects, animations, doors opening and closing, things like that. I like these because you could stick them in your pockets of like a hoodie or something, and it's hard to see who would be operating R2D2, whereas an Xbox 360 controller is a little bit harder to hide. And also, when I started this project, I don't know if Padawan was out or not, or if it was just coming out. So I had kind of decided to do the Shadow system with Markduino boards way back then, and I'm sticking with it because I still think it's a fine system. But just telling you the options. Another thing that people do, especially if you are already into, say, radio-controlled airplanes or helicopters, is you can control R2D2 with just a traditional radio control system with, you know, the traditional rectangular radio control box with a couple small joysticks on it. It's another way that you can do it. So my system is going to be shadow, so that's kind of what these electronics are for, especially the Arduinos. These send signals out to the lights and the dome panels, and then I need a third one that sends controls to the body to open and close the doors in the body and bring out the utility arms and that kind of stuff. So I only made 2 of these way back when I made these, which I believe this row is about 2020. I only made 2 because I still wasn't sure if I was just going to make a static R2. I went from just a dome to thinking, okay, I'll build the whole R2, but he won't move. He'll just sit there with only a rotating dome, sounds, and lights. So I wanted the rotating dome and opening dome panels. So that's why I've got the Arduinos. And the MP3 trigger is what a lot of people have used until fairly recently for audio. Again, now there's code out there to use a less expensive and more readily available and even smaller board to play audio. So that, again, that's something that wasn't there in 2020 when I started working on this, that's now supported because things move along just like most hobbies. So again, doing research, getting on astromech.net forums, the Michael Baddeley Facebook forum, and just reading and catching up on control schemes and making your mind up what you want to do, and then maybe waiting. I mean, I know most people might not be able to afford to buy all this stuff all at once, and it's easier to buy it bit by bit, but if you do, again, just try and remember what things are for. Maybe write yourself notes, take pictures, which I didn't even take a video of this at that point. I wasn't doing videos of this project. So make sure you have notations and you know what direction you're going with your stuff. So that takes us up to here. And then the next things I bought were speakers. These were recommended on the Michael Baddeley Facebook page. These speakers that go in the vents, the front vents for the audio. I got a 12-volt motor for the dome to spin the dome, and again, this is one that on the Michael Baddeley forums was recommended by a lot of people. And then I got an audio amp. This one is a 12 or 24 volt audio amp. Then we go over here, and I got from PrintedDroidShop.com, I got some logic lights for R2. These are made by Ben Reese of PrintedDroid.com website. Really nice boards, and they control the lights. Cables connect over to this one to control these lights. Really nice quality. I have not powered them on, but that was the next thing I did. And then I started getting into the controllers. These I got used. There was a person on astromech.net that had multiple sets and was selling his extra sets. 100% I know these batteries are currently dead because they've been in a box for months, and it sounded like he hadn't used them in months. So at the very least, their batteries need to be replaced, and I just have to hope they're working. Got a really good deal, so if they're not working or one of them's not working, it's not like a terrible thing, but I just happened to be online when the guy had listed several sets of them and decided to get one. Next thing is the Bluetooth. Now I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. Bluetooth dongle to connect to the PlayStation controllers. I have seen lots of different models listed that they work. I've even seen people say, oh yeah, well that one used to work, but now it doesn't work, either due to a change in the Bluetooth dongle or a change in the code for the Shadow system that sends the commands. So I have no idea if this Bluetooth dongle is going to work or not. At one point somebody said that this model number did work, so that's something I'll just have to find out again, because I'm not to the point where I could plug it in and try it. It might not have been the smartest idea to go ahead and purchase one. Although sometimes there's the opposite factor, where if they quit making ones that work, it might be harder to find one if you wait. So it's there's pluses and minuses to buying things before you're ready to use them. Things like this, if this doesn't work, you know, it's been a couple years. I think it was 2021 when I got this. So almost 2 years now, about a year and a half. So if it doesn't work, you know, I just have to hope that I can get some support. I'm sure I could probably, I hope I could get some support, but hopefully they'll work. Next over here, this is just an empty box showing servos. I bought 2 servos so far. These are the ones that I bought and have installed in R2D2 because they go underneath the mounts for the shoulders, and if you assemble R2D2, you have to put these in first before you slide the shoulder module down. I've got that in one of my videos. So I bought 2 of these so I could slide the shoulder modules down, attach the legs, and get them on his feet. Those are the only servos I've got. I have a ton more to get. I have the hollow projectors. I would like to have servos so they randomly, you know, twitch and move. And then any dome panel that opens needs, obviously, a servo. And the 2 utility arms need servos. And the doors that open need servos. So there's a ton of more servos that I'm going to need to get. But so far, I've only got the 2 I needed that I wanted to install before I put R2D2 on his feet. Then we go over to how do you make the dome move and how do you make R2 actually drive. And what I've got here is a Sabertooth 2x25 motor controller to control the scooter motors, and a Siren 10 for controlling the dome motor. Now, the Sabertooth 2x25, most people buy the 2x32. It's been used for years for R2D2 builds, but everything I read said the 2x25 would be fine for a 3D printed droid. So I think the reason why most people will hold out for the 2x32 is I believe they're the same price. And so why not get the one that can handle more current if they're the same price? Well, the problem is the 2x32 sells out and it goes on back order for months and months, whereas the 2x25 was in stock. So even though, again, I wasn't quite ready to actually plug it in and use it, I just went ahead and got a 2x25 because, like I said, everything I've read, people have used them and they work just fine with an R2D2. I was a little surprised that this came in just like a lightly padded envelope in this plastic case, which had shattered. The actual device looks okay, but that was a little bit of a surprise for the price of this. You would have thought that they would put it in a cardboard box as well, but again, just want to bring that up because that's part of why I'm doing this, is bringing up my experiences with these. The Siren I think I lucked out on, because this apparently had been back ordered for a while too. This was in stock because most people were waiting for the 2x32, so it took less than a week to arrive after I ordered it. And then once it arrived, I went back to the website, Dimension Engineering, and I ordered one of the Siren 10 for the dome motor, thinking that they were back ordered and I wouldn't get it for quite a while. And it showed up in less than a week. So I think I must have just ordered right when they got back in stock. Because that was kind of a surprise getting that as quickly as I did. But that's another thing when you're ordering parts. Some things, especially now, post-COVID, with, you know, still supply shortages and things like that, it could be a wait before you get some of this specialty stuff because they might be out of stock. So if you're planning on having a droid ready by a certain time frame and you don't have your electronics, that's something you need to realize is some of the stuff might not be available when you need it if you're in a hurry to get it. So you might have to, if you want a 2x32, go with the 2x25 in order to get your droid up and running if you had a time crunch. Or just realize that you might have a setback when you go and order it. If it's out of stock, you'll just have to do other work on the droid and not deal with that until you actually get the part. This next part is pretty much 2022 and 23. This is after I decided how I was going to power my droid. And I bring up Jason Charlton's videos in my videos fairly frequently for good reason. He has excellent videos. And he is running a system that only uses 5 volts and 24 volts to power his droid electronics, and I thought that was an excellent idea. He got that idea from people on the astromech.net forums, and so I decided to follow that. So if you remember, I had ordered the commonly used 12-volt dome motor that people say they use on the Michael Baddeley forums. But I'm going to a system that's not going to have 12 volts available. So I bought a 24-volt motor. So that's another thing that can happen to you, is you can order one part, change your mind on how you're going to wire things up, and all of a sudden you've got something that you paid for that you now don't need. Unless maybe you're going to make a second droid and might do it differently. Or you might have to figure out if you're going to be able to sell that somewhere, if you need to get your money back on it. So this here takes the voltage in from my 24-volt system, and as you can see, 12 or 24 volts, and it will provide a good steady 5-volt output to the droid. So it's a nice big beefy one instead of a really small voltage regulator that can't handle quite as much current, because it will be powering all of the 5-volt things. Well, the majority of the 5-volt things. The dome might have a separate one, will have a separate one, which now that I look over my stuff, I know I ordered one and I don't see it here. So again, I apparently have lost the smaller no, it's in here because it came from the same company, which I won't try to pronounce, but everybody knows that company, Pololu, I guess. They threw it in the same package with the aluminum brackets I bought for the motor in case I needed them to mount the motor. And so inside there is a converter, voltage converter, that is like pressed in a box up against an aluminum bracket, and I should have taken that out. But again, I forgot, and this one wasn't ordered all that long ago. It's still in there, like all wrapped up in a semicircle in the box, and it shouldn't be bent, so I don't quite like the way that was shipped either. But again, that's just another pitfall. Then we go over here, and this is a kit for DuPont connectors. The servos are connected with DuPont connectors, and various parts of the electronics are connected with DuPont connectors. The Arduino is a prime example. All of those pins use DuPont connectors with wires slid on top of them to send signals to servos or lights or what have you, and to program this board. So I got a set of those, also from Jason Charlton. I got some power distribution blocks. I only bought one set of these for positive, negative voltage, or voltage and ground, however you want to say it, so that my main power will go here and the main ground goes to here, and then you can branch it off to different devices. I probably should have got two of these packages so I could have more options available to put these on the electronics board that I eventually will make to mount everything. Then over here, how I'm going to mount power to the system, I'm going with XT60 connectors, which are solder connectors. You need to solder the wires onto the end of the connectors. And I got two different types. I got the regular, I guess you'd call them ones. And they have a pointy end on one side, so you can't plug them in wrong as long as you solder your wires correctly. And then I got these panel mount ones. So the plan is on the electronics board to mount these and bolt them onto the electronics board so that the electronics board can be removable by unplugging all the wires from these and then removing the electronics board. Jason Charlton did that, but he used Anderson power pole connectors. Those are crimp-on, and although I have 3 different pairs of crimpers, I'm not sure if any of them would work for the Anderson power pole connectors, and I've got plenty of solder and experience soldering, and I just figured that these would be easier, or at least as easy for me, plus they'd save me a bit of money being slightly less expensive and not requiring me to buy a stripper. The next point is I finally made my decision on how to power the droid. So why do I have a drill here? Well, the drill is how I'm going to power my droid. There are several companies that make electric drills or other tools that use batteries that can be used to power a droid. One catch with them is when the batteries get low, either the battery or the tool itself needs to have electronics in it to know that the battery has reached a certain voltage and then to stop using it. Otherwise, you drain the battery all the way down to nothing, and that will damage the battery. So you have to find a manufacturer that has that logic inside of the battery as opposed to inside of the tool. And so Lowe's Cobalt brand is one of those. So if you put this in your droid to power it, once it drains enough of the battery will shut off, preventing it from being damaged. And the other thing is that Cobalt is 24 volt. Now this kit, I'll just briefly say, I got this, it was around December. It was after Black Friday sales. And they had this drill, which is the previous year's model. And then they also have a package for the current year model drill. And the package is the drill and a battery and a case. And this was on sale, the last year's model, for $87. And it came with the drill and the bag and a 2 amp hour battery, and what the box said was a free 4 amp hour battery. The current drill, the new drill with whatever drill technology enhancements have come along within the last year, was $99 and only came with a 2 amp hour battery. So I saved $13 and I got a free 4 amp hour battery. And I didn't have an electric drill. Well, not quite true. I have a really, really, really old one that doesn't work anymore because the battery's dead. So I ended up getting a nice, decent quality electric drill that I can use for all kinds of things, and it's got 2 batteries on it. So what I'm going to do is use the 2 amp hour battery for all my testing, and then I'll go to the 4 amp hour battery once R2 is all together and I know everything works. That way if I screw up a battery, it'll be the smaller one and not the nicer, bigger one. And then getting the power from the battery to the electronics, I 3D printed this adapter. The reason I 3D printed it is because you can buy these from eBay and I think Amazon. You can buy adapters like this, but the ones I was looking at, the picture said they had 1 gauge of wire, but the description said another, and I didn't want to deal with asking the sellers, okay, which is it? And the file is out there to print this and make it yourself. One caveat is it uses 12 gauge wires, where most people use 10 gauge from their batteries. I'm thinking I should be fine. I'm hoping I should be fine. I even had to drill this hole out, even though this is on Thingiverse. Somebody modified, somebody else designed to take 12 gauge wires. I still couldn't get the wires in there and had to drill the hole a little bit bigger. And I bought a package of course, 100 of these little gold-plated connectors when I only needed 2 or maybe 4 if I put 2 of these in the Droid. So yeah, I just soldered the wire to these connectors and then had to drill the hole a little bit bigger, push them through, and then they lock into the plastic, and then the battery just slides into it just like it would in a tool. One thing about it though is the battery slides in upside down, and the little handy built-in battery meter thing will be facing down where you can't see it. Yeah. So that's a issue I'll have with this setup that I'm not sure how to deal with, but I'm not worried about at the moment is how do I tell if my batteries are starting to get low. Although from what I understand, when the batteries start getting low, the drive units quit working first. So it's not a case of having the Droid running out of control, not receiving a signal from the radio, because the foot motors take more current than the rest of the electronics, so they'll stop working first. So anyway, that was my decision. Just seemed, since I was looking at getting a new drill anyway, I really like the idea of how small and light these are. For a convention though, you'd probably want, they make these in 6 amp hour. A couple 6 amp hour would probably be perfect for a convention or a show or whatever if you're going to one, whereas a 4 and a 2 would not last, I'm sure, wouldn't last the whole event, even though you could swap them and then charge the other one and swap it back. But anyway, just wanted to say that's my decision on power. So power comes in, goes to connectors, and then wires from the connectors go to distribution blocks, and then go to voltage regulator to take 24 volt down to 5 volts, whereas the dome motor is still 24 volts powered by this. The drive feet are powered by this 24 volts, and the rest of this is 5 volts, with this being possibly not necessary. So that's the main electronics. Now what I want to talk about, and why I've done this video 4 times, keep going back and forth, should I post it, should I not, should I redo it? And I'm going to post this because it's something that needs to be said, because it's my experience. I talked about this, I got this from Ben Reese from the PrintedDroid.com website. He is in Germany. I believe he has a full-time job, and this is just something he does as a hobby on the side, is make droid, all kinds of different droid electronics. The one thing that you might, if you have experience with R2D2, you might notice is missing is basically R2D2's brain, the main controller that sends signals to all the other devices on the table to tell R2D2 what to do. And that is frequently an Arduino Mega 2560. I hadn't bought that yet, again, because I still, until buying that drill basically really locked me into, yes, I'm going to make R2 fully articulated and drivable. And so I definitely am going to need this. It's not just going to be static blinky lights, which I probably would have needed this for anyway. But here you see the Mega 2560. Another thing that you need is this, the USB host shield. If you look at the Arduino here, this is for programming the Arduino. There is not another USB port to put your Bluetooth dongle in that will communicate with your PlayStation controllers, or you need to, if you're using the Padawan system that uses an Xbox controller, you need to get a Xbox controller wireless Bluetooth controller that has USB capability and plug it in. So you can't do that with this board as is, because it doesn't have a place to plug that in. So people buy the USB host shield, which plugs into that other board and gives you a USB. So a lot of people are having problems with USB host shields, and I just saw earlier this week somebody on the Michael Baddeley Facebook group has figured out why so many people are having problems with these USB host shields not working. I'm not going to go into the specifics too deeply, but if you see these two chips, I believe that they are controlling voltage on the board. And it appears that they are being, these host shield boards are being produced with 2 different chips on them, one of which doesn't handle enough current to make all of the Bluetooth Xbox, especially the Xbox controllers, work. So what he figured out is by removing one of the chips, and again, you'd have to go to the Facebook page because I'm not sure which one. One of these 2 chips needs to be removed and replaced with the same type as the other one. And he did that to several USB host shields he had that did not work, and then as soon as he tried them afterwards, they did work. So it looks like the cause has been found with a possible fix. Now those are surface mount chips, so not everybody's going to have the skill level to be able to remove those, one of those, and then replace it. But at least it looks like people have figured out why there seems to be a problem with USB host shields connecting to devices, which is good because there's a lot of posts about that. So one thing that I did, because I didn't know about the USB host shield, and it turned out to be cheaper anyway, is I bought a Arduino Mega 2560 ADK. You can see here on the left hand side USB port for programming and a secondary USB port that you can plug your Bluetooth device into. So this board does not need the USB host shield. It's built into this board. So here's the thing, that I just ordered one of these. I ordered it and I'm not happy about it, and I'll tell you why. Because of this. I ordered from PrintedDroid.com. Remember where I ordered these in 2021? They showed up. They're really awesome looking boards. I'm assuming they're going to work. Like I said, I haven't plugged them into anything yet. I don't have anything to plug them into because they need to go into the Mega 2560 Arduino that I don't have. So looking at Ben's website, his shop here, he has come up with a board called the Astrocomms. Now the Astrocomms board combines multiple things on one board, and I really like that idea. Like I said, that first picture showed the Arduino Mega 2560, and then the next picture showed the host shield. So you can have those two boards stacked on top of each other, or you can get the slightly larger Mega 2560 ADK that has USB built in, which is what I ordered. But before I ordered that, in fact in September of 2022, and it's now mid-February of 2023, I ordered one of these, an Astrocomms Ultra Plus with sound out. This board replaces this, which replaces these two. So you can have the Arduino board and the USB host shield, or you can have this. This board has the capabilities of the Mega 2560. It has a smaller version. Instead of the MP3 trigger board, it has a soundboard up here. It also contains the body Markduino, which, remember, I didn't build. I built two of these Markduinos for the dome, and I didn't build the one for the body. So this thing contains, basically, if you want to take it to extremes, it's replacing the Arduino Mega 2560, a USB host shield, the MP3 trigger, and a Markduino. That's 4 boards, plus it can use the optional ESP32 board instead of the XB Wi-Fi device that most people use to connect their phones. There's an app that you can use on your phone to control R2D2's dome and sounds and things like that, so you don't have to use the controllers. So this device is capable of all that on one board. I thought that was just an absolutely amazing solution. It'll take up less room because I still hadn't ordered the Arduino or the body Markduino. It just seemed like the perfect solution, so I ordered one. This is where the problem started. 6 weeks later, I had not received any product or email that the product had shipped. When you order it through the store, you get sent an invoice. I paid the invoice, and then you get a thanks for your order, here's 10% off on your next order, and that's it. 6 weeks later, nothing else. So I used the contact form on this website to try and reach out to Ben, and I said, "Hi, my name is so and so, and my order number was such and such on such and such a date, and it's been 6 weeks, and I haven't received anything, so I'm just curious as to the status of my order." And a week later, I think 2 weeks later, I never received an answer. So I went to the Michael Baddeley forum and I looked up Ben Reese, and I saw lots of posts, and some said that it can take a while to get the item shipped out, and I perfectly understand that. Like I said, I don't think this is his main job. I think this is just something he does on the side. So he's got his own, stuff going on, and I get that, but I paid for this thing, and I got nothing but an invoice and a coupon for my next order. So the next thing I did was I messaged him through Facebook, which I'm on the Facebook Michael Baddeley page, and I might have mentioned this in other videos. I'm not a big fan of Facebook. The only reason I'm on it is because the R2D2 forum or Facebook page is where you're going to find the most and best information on building the 3D printed R2 droid. It's astromech.net has some content, but not nearly as much, obviously, as the Facebook page. So I messaged Ben Reese through Facebook, and he did reply, and he remembered that I had ordered an Astrocomms. And he said that night he would look and see the status of the shipment. And the next night, there was nothing. And then a week went by. I think it was a week when I messaged him again saying, "Hey, did you get a chance to look at that order?" And he told me he found the order, and it said that it was still in transit, and he wasn't too happy with that, and so he would send me out another one. So, okay, great, thank you, that's wonderful. And then that was 8 weeks later, or I think it was 8 weeks later. Yep, 8 weeks later, I still hadn't received anything. No emails that anything had shipped, no product, no nothing. So we're now at 16 weeks out. So I messaged him on Facebook again, and I said, "Okay, do you know what's going on with the order? It's been 8 weeks since the replacement. You said you'd ship a replacement out. It's been 18 weeks total." It's been like 16 weeks total, and I got some parts from you in 2021, and I didn't have an issue, so I'm not sure what's going on. He hasn't replied, and that's been, I think, 2 weeks now. So I'm somewhere around the 18 to 20 week point now, and I still have nothing. And now I don't know if he's on vacation or what, out of the country, but he's not answering my latest Facebook message saying, "Okay, it's now quite a while later. Is there any update?" So I wanted to put this out, just like when I ordered the Granite Earth Lazy Susan for the dome rotation, and the one I got was not round. It wouldn't spin because it was oval and not round, and there were no signs of damage on the box. So I posted a video of that, and then later I let Granite Earth know, and they sent me out a replacement. The replacement arrived, and it was beautiful. So that was awesome. I posted another video saying that. So here I'm going to do the same thing here, just to let people know, hey, this has happened to me. In 2021, I ordered from him. I got my order, I had no problems, but now when I ordered this in 2022, I haven't received it yet, and I think I'm up to like 19 or 20 weeks now, which is just ridiculous. So it's been, I ordered it September of 2022, and it's now, like I said, the middle of February. So it's like 5 months. That's kind of ridiculous. And the lack of communication, you're selling products, you should, in my opinion, shouldn't be too much to ask to send out a shipping notice when something ships and tracking information if it's available. But yeah, I don't like putting this in a video, but it is my experience, and I'm not sure what to do at this point. So what I did is I ordered the Arduino Mega 2560. So I'm moving on. It's like I haven't done anything in 4 months on this droid, and part of it is because I didn't have the brain, basically the brain. And I got the Arduinos out that I built so long ago that I couldn't remember if I programmed them, but because one needs to be the master and one the slave, obviously I would have put labels on them if I had programmed them. And that's when I looked at this and I thought, oh, this is the programmer for them. But it's got an inline 6-pin connector, and I went online and okay, yeah, this 6-pin connector is how you program it, and it's 2 rows, 3 pins over 3 pins. So how do I use that programmer? And that's when I realized that this programmer was probably what I used for the thesis that I completely forgot about, and I never got the programmer for the Arduinos. So the latest purchase, I went online to make sure I knew what I was ordering. I ordered the Mega 2560, and I looked at Arduino boards and saw that there's a new version. So this is a Arduino 1.5 board with version 2, dated 2016. This is the newer Arduino 1.5 board, version 3. (2020). So there have been some slight changes to the board layout and what it can do and the firmware. So I had a couple choices. The first choice, you can still on OSH Park, you can still order these PCBs, or you can order these newer ones. I could have just ordered one of this version 2 and built the body Arduino as a version 2 so that all 3 of my Arduinos would be version 2. But instead, being me, I ordered 3 of the version 3s and all of the parts to assemble them myself. What's not shown here is the main chip right here. I ordered it from China. Hopefully it won't be counterfeits. Instead of ordering, DigiKey only had 3 of these chips, the main chip, and they weren't even DigiKey. They were another company that when you buy things, I didn't realize, just kind of like Amazon, it could be different sellers. So even though it's from the DigiKey website, it was some other seller that was selling 3 of these, and they were $7 each. And I've ordered 3 from China, so they will take a while to show up. And hopefully they'll work and not be counterfeits, but I just decided to save a little money after I put all this stuff in my cart and realized that I could have just bought one of the version 2 boards and used it with these revision 2 boards and in the body, and it would have been just absolutely fine. I don't really need the few things they've changed on the version 3, but because I like soldering projects, I decided to go ahead and do this. So at this point, I have a 12-volt motor that I don't need because I'm going to use 24 volts. I have an MP3 trigger that, because I was going to buy the Astrocomms board, I wouldn't have needed. But now that I haven't got that board and I've ordered the Arduino Mega 2560, at least to get R2D2 up and running, I'll need it. But if that Astrocomms board ever arrives and I decide to swap out to it, then I won't need this. Because I'm going to build 3 version 3 Arduinos, I won't need these. So this is just showing how decisions along your path can change the things you buy and make things that you buy end up being duplicates or not what you intended to go with in the first place. The programmer for the Arduino boards will arrive in the mail today. So like I said, I never programmed these. Otherwise I would have put a sticker on one that said master and on the other one that said slave, and probably use a Sharpie on the back where it says master and slave and denote each one. So at the very least what I can do is plug these in and use the programmer and program them to make sure that I've at least soldered them together good enough to be able to program the chips. And then when the Arduino Mega 2560 comes in, it can connect to this, it can connect to these can connect to this. This can connect to the ground loop isolator, to the audio amplifier. I believe these connect to the body Arduino, which, again, until I build all 3 of these, I won't have. But so I could test a bunch of stuff over there as long as I wire up my power supply to a fuse box, which I don't have, a switch, which I don't have, to start getting some of this stuff actually tested. So there we go. This video is nearly an hour long, which again is another reason why I've done like 4 of them. I try to make them shorter. I've ended up rambling a bit at the end, so I'm just going to leave it there. Just keep in mind what you're doing when you're ordering electronics, and if you haven't made up your mind which way you're going to go. And just a warning, as of September of 2022, I don't know if other people are having issues getting their orders from PrintedDroid.com, but I definitely am. And I will post an update as soon as I get my board, or I guess get my money back if he decides that for whatever reason he's shipping things out and they aren't arriving. So maybe there's some kind of distribution issue. You know, I really don't know, but I will post a follow-up when I hear more about that.